Good morning. Happy Friday to everyone. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to talk about both shadow work and energy capacity, but these were the two things that came up for me that I felt like needed to be spoken about. Right. Ava, progressive love. You know where to get it. You know where to get it. I already know you know where to get it. Good. Grand Rising. Whenever I see that, I think of the Biscuits by Pillsbury. Anyway, all right. Good morning. So, let's talk about energy capacity first. Looking at the time. All right. Let's talk about energy capacity first. Actually, it may lead into shadow work. So, try to make this brighter. So, as I always start with myself as a training ground or a lesson basis, if you will, for you all. And thank you, shout out to my friend Leila Simmons for helping me figure more of this out as we talked back and forth. And I think this is probably going to be specifically to women. The energy capacity piece and how we so I find myself in a cycle in which I will have an opening, basically meaning I do some work, some healing work on myself in some way, some somatic work, some breathing, a huge breakthrough, tears, all kinds of things. I will do that. Afterward, I will feel pretty great, like, wow. And then like within the next 24 to 48 hours, my energy levels completely plummet. Like I completely crash. No warning, no nothing. Like I have no energy to do anything. And I just veg out. And then I end up feeling like like it's almost like depressive mode, but it's not. Like I feel aggravated, I want to cry and I'm like, what is happening? Because I just did this thing. I should be feeling better. And so I was at that stage yesterday and last night because I had a huge opening and discovery on Wednesday, did a bunch of stories about it, was feeling like, yeah. And then Thursday came and I was just like, I'm out. I spent half the day on Hulu, like catching up on shows and then did later on last night, did finally let some of the tears out, which was continued energy. And I say this all the time, that we are energetic beings. Like we're humans, but we're really actually energetic beings in a human form. Like that's the form we're carrying, but we are walking vibrations of energy. And so what Leila was explaining to me, and I'm going to go find this podcast by Brené Brown, who was talking, and Brené I love how she speaks about our capacity to hold things, and how this is a container. And there are times when we are moving through something, and because it's expanding our capacity to hold. So imagine, if you will, the visual is like, you're here and you're on your healing journey or whatever you're doing. And, it's like, so you get some breakthrough and it's like, yeah. And then it's like, okay. And it comes back down a little bit, but it slowly starts to come out, and then you're here, and then you go through another thing and you're like, yeah. And then it shrinks back in again. And then it gradually comes back out. So whenever you do something, whenever you attend a retreat, a workshop, something that really cracks you open, there's a huge expansion, but you're not yet ready to stay at that level consistently. It's just that it's been pushed out there. So here was your norm. and then now here is your norm and here is your norm. But in between that, it's like, here's the norm, but it's like your body and when we say your system, we mean like your literal nervous system needs time to catch up to where your container can now be. So you will find that you will go through some huge opening and feel like, oh my gosh, yes, and then wonder why, like for the next 2 days you're like you've plummeted. Or some people don't even go through the, oh yes, some people go through the expansion and then they just plummet, because that's all you had energy for. Like it took your entire nervous system so far out of range that it needs a minute to like process what just happened here, gather strength, and then it can start to match the spaciousness that you just gave it. Does that make sense? I'm actually going to look at comments today if you guys have any. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, you do create your life. Yes, always. Thank you. I try to be cute. So hopefully that makes sense. And so I didn't really see that, like I knew that this happened, but I didn't have a fuller understanding of it until yesterday. And like it hit me yesterday, like, you know, whenever something like that happens, afterwards I'm noticing that I'm feeling like, and this is true for everything in our life, because again, I want you to remember we are energetic beings. When you're trying to increase your capacity to receive money, when you're working on increasing your capacity to receive love, it's a rewiring. It's a rewiring of your nervous system. All of this is so interconnected in such an intricate and beautiful way. And let me explain why very, very quickly. So I love neuroscience. I'm not an expert, but I love neuroscience. When you come into this world as a child and you're growing up and your nervous system is forming, you know, events happen because it's life. It's life. Like nobody lives a life where there's nothing that has ever happened, right? Events happen in your life that get stored. They get stored as memories. Right? Your brain takes a snapshot of things that happen. It takes a snapshot of how you felt during those things that have happened. It's stored in your brain. It's stored in your body, so that should you encounter something similarly, right? You know what it is. You can catalog it. You can figure it out. You know how to respond to it. Some people haven't had a chance to have experiences that help them to open, because some of the experiences were very painful, and in order to protect the self, there's contraction, right? And so, you know, as an adult, then you're like, yeah, I want to shift this, I want to change this, and you do these things, and it's taking you way out, and your body's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like trying to lift a really heavy weight that you weren't prepared for. And your nervous system is just not used to it, which is why if you do attend a retreat or a workshop, it's really good to take like another additional day or two off after that, especially if you've had to travel to get there, because you're still processing. It's not over in that moment. You're still processing what's happening. It takes time for it to really sink into the body and sink into the nervous system. And so now that I can see this very clearly, you know, now I'm like, oh, okay. When I notice that crash, I'll know what it is. That's some inner working that's happening. It's some adjustments taking place. And sometimes, my personal belief is that in order for those adjustments to take place, your body needs to shut down. Like it doesn't need you thinking and going and doing and all of that. It cannot do that and process at the same time. And so what it will do for us is it'll just be like, yeah, we're just gonna like a robot turned off. We just need you to veg out all day and just watch TV on Hulu. Like That was me yesterday. We just needed to watch TV on Hulu because we need to do some inner workings inside of here, and we can't have you trying to like think and manage things out here while we're trying to do work in here. It doesn't happen that way. But this is the process as energy beings that we go through in order to expand our capacity to receive, to love. The same is true for money. Everybody's like, I want a bunch of money, but we're not ready to hold it. I've talked about this. We're not ready to hold that. Like your system couldn't hold it. Some of us, if we won the lottery, the amount of guilt that we would feel for having that much money and not being able, not deserving it, or some strange karma is going to happen, or yay, I got all this money, now the other shoe's going to drop, am I going to die? The paranoia. We don't think about these things because we see the money. We think if $10 million landed in my lap, I do all these things. No, for most of us, if $10 million landed in our lap, literally, and like right now, most of us wouldn't know how to hold the responsibility of what comes along with that. We're just looking at dollar bills. It's an energy. And we wouldn't know how to hold it. So we have to expand our capacity to do that. Somatic work is the way to do that. It's not a talk therapy thing. Talk therapy is wonderful in helping to express and kind of think through and figure it out. And yeah, but at the end of the day, if you're looking to really open your system up to create this life that you say you want, you're gonna have to go through the body. You're gonna have to go through the body. So this ties into shadow work, and I'm gonna do a thing later about shadow work because it's a huge like buzzword, like triggered and narcissist. You know, now everything is all of these things, and you know that's what happens, right? That's what happens initially. Shadow work. When you're opening your system, you cannot, I'm gonna say this one more time, you cannot expand your capacity to love, receive money, or anything else that you're looking to do if you do not address the shit within you that you're trying desperately to hide. You can't love and light your way into your changing. And people who try to do that, like after a while, it's gonna start fucking with your mental. Because you can't bypass it. It's gonna start fucking with your mental if you're trying to like be this positive person, but you don't want to acknowledge that you can be a manipulative bitch. It's not gonna work for you. You cannot try to be, you know, oh, like namaste, when you don't want to acknowledge your selfishness, your arrogance. You have to see those sides of yourself. And shadow work isn't like calling out those sides of yourself and all that. It's actually accepting the fact that it exists. None of us will ever be without shadow. That's impossible. That's impossible. You're not going to get rid of these aspects of you. And I think that's what some people are trying to do, which is really a latent Christian thinking. You know, this idea of perfection or being a perfect human. That's not the goal. The goal is awareness. Awareness. Because when you're aware of those parts of yourself and you can see your patterns and behavior, now you can really start to shift some things. But you can't do that if you want to act like, no, my ego doesn't get in the way of things. No, my ego, me, mine. Oh yeah. Oh, it's active. It's active. There are certain patterns that are like a little easier and smoother, and there are others that I'm like, fuck, I was blindsided by that shit again. Damn it. Got me again. All right, let's keep moving. Do I need to apologize for that? Do I need to have a conversation about it? But it's an awareness. What shadow work is not about is like, I can't believe all these things, man. I gotta get rid of them. Like, how do I get rid of my arrogance? Let me tell you something. I will never get rid of my arrogance, most likely ever. And some of you might be saying, you don't seem arrogant. Believe me, it's a work in progress. Just the fact that I said that's probably a sign of arrogance. That some of y'all might be like, yeah, we see it. But it's something that I'm aware of, and so I do my best to catch myself, and kind of like, let's bring it back a little bit. You don't know everything, Virgo. You don't know everything. Understanding. So I was thinking about energy capacity, and see, when you don't want to acknowledge the shadow stuff, right? The shadow stuff is two sides of the same coin. It's like I like Batman. So Batman and the Joker are the same person. They're the same person. It's just, this is what happens when it's taken this way, and this is what happens when it goes this way. All of our shadow things, qualities, are qualities that can be flipped and used in a different direction. Right? Because when you think about what a shadow is, it's what happens when the light is blocked, and so the light is refracted. Man, how come I didn't pass physics better? But the light is refracted, it goes around the object and creates something else that kind of looks like the object, but isn't it. It's shadow. But it's still the object, but it's not, right? So all of that is still you. All of it can still be flipped. When you do somatic work, when you do body work to expand your capacity, it actually helps you work through your shadow shit. It helps to open up your nervous system so that you can be more accepting of those parts of yourself without shame and guilt and suffering and a need to have penance for all the things you've done. Make amends, yes. But understanding that this is part of your human journey. Bypassing this would say, well, yeah, I've got shadow. It's just part of who I am, and that's just that. And then you just continue to go on with your life, letting that shit just infiltrate everything that you do. But this is really about acknowledging it, being aware of it, being accepting of it, and then working through those pieces using somatic work, working through those pieces so that you can be a more whole, integrated you, and not fractured and split. So my energy capacity was expanded, and it has expanded, and it continues to expand. But yesterday took me out after Wednesday, working with my teacher, Perry Chase, in her container called Ruin, and was literally just crying and just like beating on my bed and screaming and just getting things out. My stories yesterday, if you caught them, was part of that process that I was going through in order to deal with mourning a part of myself that I had to let go, that I was still trying to hold on to in this present time, that was preventing me from moving forward. And I hope you caught all that, because I can't say it again. But in doing so, working through releasing that part so I could be freer here now, It wiped me. And that's going to happen to you. And there are some people who this absolutely, they just can't handle this. Not in this lifetime. So this is not for you to go out and say, you know what you need to do? You need to do some shadow work. Because there are some people who you try and push them to this shit and it could break them. Everybody's not here in this lifetime to do this type of work. They're not. Or they might be. But it's not your job to tell them that it is. If you know that's what you're here to do, then you do that work. But we don't want to have people do work that could literally send them into a catatonic state. Don't think it can't happen, because it can. We're working with your nervous system. And there are some things that the mind does not want people to see, remember, or understand for the safety and protection of the body and the life that's within it. So this is a careful process that people have to be primed for. There are levels to the shit that you go through before you get to a different place. And some people's expansion looks like this. And some people's expansion looks like this. Know yours. All right. I think that's it for today. That's I think that's it. I feel complete. I feel like I am done. I'm gonna do a couple of posts on shadow work. Vixen is coming in May. And there will be this will be high level. The work that we're going to do in Vixen, so let me be very clear. I feel like this is not even me speaking right now. So I'm going to just tell y'all, the work that we're doing in Vixen is not for people who are just coming into working with shadow. It's not. The work that we're going to do in Vixen is for people who can handle the capacity of the expansion and who have space and grace to be able to take time after the expansion has happened to reintegrate. So if you're working like 2 jobs and whatnot, this was probably not going to be for you. If you have a ton of responsibilities, this is probably not going to be for you. What I would recommend is coming into the Sensual Energy Coven, joining the women there, where I will see about doing some other version of this on a different level to begin to prime the body for this type of expensive work. That's what just came to me now. So. Vixen will begin in May. If you are interested, I guess you can DM me now, but we're not getting started until May, because that's my season. That's why I start my programs. I realize I've always started them in May, and there's a reason for that. Spring, my capacity is huge from May until like December. My capacity is great. January and February, no, absolutely not. Like those are like the 2 months that I would need off to go someplace else and then start rolling back into life in like March. I understand this about myself now, and I'm happy to work with the way my cycles work. So my shit will probably always start in May. And yeah. All right. I love you all. Enjoy your Friday. I'm going to find a sensual song to post because it's Friday, so y'all can get your weekends going. Ooh, I know what it's going to be. Hey, all right. I'm going to post it on Instagram because I can do it with the music, and I'll post it in my Facebook stories because I can also do it with the music too, so you can hear it and hear why it's a sensual song. All right. I love you. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time.